I never thought I'd find myself here, telling a story that feels both impossible and inevitable. For years, I believed in love the way fairy tales promised it. I was in a relationship with him, a man who seemed to have everything I wanted. He was kind, dependable, and the kind of partner everyone envied. From the outside, it was perfect. From the inside, well, that's where the cracks started. We shared countless memories. Sunday mornings with coffee and old movies. Late-night drives where the world seemed to pause just for us. I laughed, I cried, and I believed that my heart had found its home. Loyalty was second nature to me. I never doubted him, never questioned my feelings. But life has a strange way of rewriting your story when you least expect it. It started subtly. A smile exchanged with someone I didn't think I'd notice. A conversation that lingered longer than it should. At first, I brushed it off, telling myself that attraction is normal, fleeting. Then came the day that changed everything. I met her at a cafe, standing there with a book in her hands and sunlight catching her hair in a way that made my heart skip. She laughed at something her friend said, and suddenly, the world didn't feel as perfect as it used to. Suddenly, the voice inside me whispered truths I didn't want to hear. It wasn't immediate. There was guilt, confusion, and a storm of emotions I couldn't name. I thought about him, about our history, and about the promises we made. But every time I saw her, every time our paths crossed, I felt alive in a way I hadn't realized I'd been missing. And then it hit me, love isn't always where you expect it. Sometimes, loyalty isn't about staying. Sometimes, it's about being brave enough to follow the heart, even when it scares you. That's when my story shifted. That's when my heart chose her. The question that haunted me was simple, yet impossible. Could I follow my heart without breaking everything I had built? Days turned into weeks, and the pull between us became impossible to ignore. Every time we spoke, my chest tightened, my mind raced, and a thrill coursed through me that I had never experienced before. It wasn't just attraction, it was recognition, understanding, a spark that refused to be dimmed. We started spending more time together, under the guise of coincidence or harmless friendship. But each shared laugh, each lingering glance, each accidental touch added fuel to something I couldn't contain. I found myself craving her presence, replaying our conversations in my head, and smiling at thoughts I shouldn't have been having. I hated myself for it at first. I hated the thought of betraying him, the person who had been my safe haven for so long. I questioned everything. Am I being selfish? Am I ruining a life I promised to cherish? Every night, I would lie awake, wrestling with my conscience. But deep down, I couldn't ignore the truth any longer. Then came the day when it happened, an ordinary afternoon that turned extraordinary. We were walking through the park, the sun casting golden light on everything around us. I remember her laughter echoing through the trees, and suddenly, I felt a surge of courage. I reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. Our fingers intertwined as if they were always meant to. In that moment, the world fell away. All the fears, the guilt, the uncertainty, they vanished. What remained was pure, undeniable connection. My heart had made its choice, loud and clear, and there was no turning back. It was terrifying, yes, and exhilarating. And every step we took together felt like walking on the edge of a cliff. One misstep could shatter everything, yet the risk seemed worth it. Because for the first time, I felt truly alive, truly seen, and truly loved in a way I had never imagined.
The tension between us was electric, impossible to ignore. Every conversation, every accidental touch, every shared laugh sent a shiver through me. It was no longer just admiration or curiosity, it was something deeper, something that demanded attention. I remember one rainy evening in particular. I had lingered at work longer than usual, hoping to avoid thinking about the impossible choices awaiting me. But she appeared in the doorway, shaking off raindrops, her hair clinging softly to her face. Without thinking, I offered her my umbrella. Our hands brushed, and the world seemed to narrow down to that fleeting moment. We ended up walking together, the rain falling around us in gentle sheets, shielding us from the rest of the world. We talked about everything and nothing, books, dreams, fears, but beneath the words, something unspoken pulsed between us. My chest ached with longing, with the awareness that this feeling could not be denied. That night, when I finally returned home, I sat in the quiet, heart racing. I thought of him, of all we had shared, and I felt the first sharp pang of guilt. But then I thought of her, the way she had listened, the way she had laughed, the way my soul had recognized hers, and I realized that loyalty alone could not guide my heart. From that day, the moments between us multiplied. Small gestures, fleeting glances, secret smiles. We found excuses to linger, to talk, to be near one another. Every encounter deepened the connection, made it more impossible to ignore. I was caught in a storm of emotions, fear, excitement, guilt, and an undeniable pull towards something I had never known before. I realized that what I felt for her was not just a fleeting crush. It was love, real and consuming, and it demanded that I confront everything I thought I knew about myself, about loyalty, about heartache. And yet, the thought of leaving him, the thought of shattering the world we had built together, kept me frozen. Days turned into weeks, and the tension between us became impossible to ignore. Each interaction with her was a mixture of thrill and torment. I wanted to stay away, to protect the life I had with him, but the pull of my heart grew stronger every time our paths crossed. It all came to a head one evening at a small art gallery. I hadn't planned to see her there, but there she was, standing in front of a painting that seemed to glow in the dim lights. I joined her silently, feeling my heartbeat quicken. We spoke about the piece, about colors and emotions, but our words were secondary. It was the way our eyes held each other, the way time slowed when we were near, it was undeniable. Later, we found ourselves walking alone under the streetlights, the night quiet except for our steps. And then it happened. A silence stretched between us, filled with everything we hadn't said, everything we'd tried to ignore. Finally, I turned to her and whispered what I hadn't admitted even to myself, I can't stop thinking about you. Her response was a gentle smile, soft but electric. I've been waiting for you to say that, she confessed, her voice trembling slightly. And in that moment, all my fears, all my guilt, all my doubts collided with the truth, I was in love with her. Truly, completely, irrevocably. The days that followed were both exhilarating and heartbreaking. I realized I could no longer pretend that loyalty alone could sustain me. I had to make a choice, and it terrified me. Telling him would hurt, breaking what we had built would leave scars, but staying in a life that no longer fit my heart felt like a betrayal to myself. I wrestled with every emotion, shame, fear, longing, guilt, but deep inside, I knew I had to follow the path my heart had chosen. Love isn't always simple, and it isn't always fair, but it is honest. And I couldn't deny the truth any longer, my heart had chosen her. For days, I carried the truth like a heavy weight on my chest. Every time he smiled at me, every time he talked about our future, my heart twisted with guilt. I knew I couldn't keep pretending. It wasn't fair to him, and it wasn't fair to myself. But knowing that didn't make the moment any easier. One quiet evening, we sat together in our living room. The same place where we had shared so many memories, movie nights, late-night talks, laughter that once felt endless. Everything around me reminded me of the life we had built together. My hands trembled as I tried to find the words. He noticed immediately. "Is something wrong?" he asked softly. That simple question made my heart sink even deeper. I looked at him and realized how much he trusted me. How much he believed in us. And in that moment, I hated the pain I was about to cause. "I need to tell you something," I said, my voice barely steady. The silence that followed felt endless. I explained everything slowly, not every detail, but the truth. I told him that I had met someone. That I hadn't planned for it, hadn't even understood it at first. But somewhere along the way, my feelings had changed. At first, he didn't say anything. His expression shifted from confusion to disbelief, and then to heartbreak. "A woman?" he finally asked quietly. I nodded. The room felt colder than it ever had before. He stood up and walked across the room, running a hand through his hair as if trying to process everything. I could see the pain in his eyes, and it broke something inside me. "You were happy with me," he said. "Weren't you?" I whispered. But something inside me changed, and I can't lie about it anymore. That night was one of the hardest moments of my life. There were tears, questions, long silences. Nothing about it was easy. But sometimes honesty hurts more in the moment. Yet saves you from living a lie forever. And that night, the life I had known for years finally came to an end. The days after that night felt strangely quiet. The house that once echoed with shared laughter now carried a silence that felt almost unfamiliar. We moved around each other carefully, like two people trying to accept a truth neither of us had imagined before. Ending a relationship isn't just about saying goodbye to a person, it's about saying goodbye to a version of your life. The routines we built, the dreams we once planned, the future we thought we understood, all of it slowly faded. And even though I knew I had been honest, the guilt didn't disappear overnight. I kept wondering if I had made the right decision. If following my heart was worth the pain it had caused. But deep down, I also knew that pretending would have hurt us both even more. A few days later, I finally gathered the courage to see her again. My heart raced the entire way there. I didn't know what to expect. Part of me feared that everything had changed. That maybe the reality of the situation would scare her away. But when she opened the door and saw me standing there, something in her eyes softened immediately. For a moment, neither of us spoke. "I told him," I finally said. She looked at me carefully, as if trying to read every emotion on my face. "Are you okay?" I took a deep breath. "I don't know yet," I admitted. "But I know one thing. I couldn't keep living a life that didn't feel true anymore." There was a pause before she stepped closer. "You didn't choose the easy path," she said gently. "You chose the honest one." And for the first time in weeks, I felt something different from guilt or fear. Relief. Because love isn't always simple. Sometimes it asks you to question everything you thought you knew about yourself. Sometimes it forces you to face difficult truths and make impossible choices. But when it's real, it also gives you the courage to start over. I had once believed loyalty meant staying, no matter what. But now I understood something deeper.